So for this last part of the video, we're going to talk a little bit about our role as parents in our child's life. Because one of the things that's going to happen on baptism day is you're going to make a promise before God and all creation to raise your child in the faith. And that's the most important part of this, is faith is not just something God gives us, right? We know God's going to do his thing in the sacrament, but that we have to be able to accept that. And your child is going to need your help with that. That's why the only requirement for baptism is that you have faith. Well, your child can't really explain to us their faith, right? So you need to make that promise to help raise them in that faith. And I know that some parents feel pretty daunted by that, right? Maybe you don't feel like you're a great example, or you've got your own things in the past that maybe you don't always feel great about. Or maybe you don't consider yourself a super churchy person, but you really want to get back to knowing Christ and have your child know Christ the way that you have. Or maybe, you feel like, hey, I got a strong relationship with the Lord, but I don't always have the answers to everything. No matter what, and no matter how you feel about this responsibility, one of the things that Father Tim and I like to make sure that every parent who brings their child forward for baptism remembers is that sharing your faith with your child and making the promise to raise them in the faith is pretty simple. It really depends on two things: showing them what we believe and why we believe. And here's the thing. We have lots of programs, especially once they reach, the age of reason, as we call it, or school age, right? We've got religious education programs. We've got Catholic school. We've got children's liturgy of the word. We can help you with all the questions that you don't know the what answers to, right? What we believe. We can help you with that. So don't worry. If you don't feel like you have all the answers, man, I got tools upon tools to help you with that. But here's the thing. Even if you felt like you didn't always know the what answers, and we can help you with that, the most important answers that you can give your child that we can't is the why. Why do we do this? And the funny thing is, most of the time you're teaching your child why, less by what you say and more by what you do. There have been studies, even as recently as a few years ago, where it was demonstrated that 70% to 75% of American young people, even when they're teenagers, still believe that their parent is the single largest spiritual influence in their life, and that they still mimic the behaviors and attitudes of their parents when it comes to faith. And not just attitudes, not just beliefs. They mimic what their parents do. And the number one statistical predictor of whether or not a child who's raised in faith stays with faith, good old-fashioned come to Mass. Yeah, that's it. Seriously. That good old-fashioned come to Mass every week, that's still the largest spiritual influence that parents have in their children, even in today's day and age. Yes, I've got 3 teenagers. They don't always show you here that they still consider that a great influence. But statistically speaking, 78% of kids who attended Mass on a regular basis with their family were closer to Christ and stayed with their faith than those who did not. So here's our plea to you. We have 2. Number 1, come to Mass every Sunday. I get it. Trust me. I've got 4 kids. My kids are rambunctious. I worried just like you when we were bringing our kids to Mass, especially as young kids, about them being noisy and learning the whole thing. And trust me, I was usually the guy that wanted to sit in back in church, not in front in church. But what I very quickly realized was that me coming to Mass every Sunday is actually the best lesson I can give my kids. Yes, even when they're little tiny toddlers to, when they're angsty and grown teenagers. The best thing that I can do for them is bring them to Mass every Sunday. And no, it's not always perfect. The Lagunus crew were usually, sometimes I'm playing referee, right? And strategically sitting kids in between other kids so that, they can focus as best as possible. It's no different than if I was taking them, putt-putt golfing or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you have to strategic parent. I get it. And sometimes we have to help them along in understanding the beauty and the symbols and the liturgy, parts of our liturgy. So that's why actually sitting closer is better, even when they're little, right? because they can see. And the more that they can see, the more that they can connect to. If they're off in the hinter regions where you can make a quick exit, then it's tough for them to see and really connect to what's going on. So come and sit in front. That's usually, or even if you can't sit in front, right? The point is sit close, right? And let them see and be part of. And what we find in liturgy is the more that they engage visually, the more that they engage spiritually. And really, the most important impact is they see you doing it. My calendar, right, is the most difficult part of my life, trying to keep everything balanced. If I do something every week, my kid knows it's important just because I do it every week. So if I come to Mass every week, then they're seeing that that's the most important thing in my life, that my relationship with Christ is the center of my world. And so we encourage families, not just because we're waving the finger of guilt about our obligation, and it is true, it is an obligation to come Mass every Sunday. It's the best thing that you can do for your kid. And I know, again, sometimes we worry about the noise or that kind of thing. Look, the average age in our parish is 42 years old. We have a lot of young families where as Father Tim likes to say, I'd rather have kids noisy in church than loud at home. And again, we've got a big gathering space in the back of our church that if your child's, we all know it as parents, right? There's difference between a fussy child who's going to get over it and a child who's just having a meltdown and can't handle the day. Take them out into the gathering space if you need to. You can still hear Mass out there. But the fact that you came every week matters, right? And so it's better to have them here. And think about it too. We say that Mass is a sacrifice. What's a sacrifice? I take the thing that's the best part of me and I bring it to the altar of God and I offer it to him and he blesses me in return. Well, if Mass is a sacrifice, what am I doing? I'm taking the best thing that I got. That's my family. That's my crew, right? And I'm bringing it before the Lord. I'm bringing them before the Lord. I'm saying, here we are, Lord, in all of our ladginess, messiness, and loudness sometimes. Here we are. And the Lord blesses us. So, number one, good old-fashioned, bring your child to church every week, right? Now, I get it in the current reality of a pandemic, families have to make their decisions about whether or not you're ready to come back to Mass and when it's safe to come back to Mass. And certainly that's part of the equation. But when it's safe and when you're safe, bring them to church every week. And you know what? Even if you're not coming to Mass right now, hooking up with a online Mass or some sort of spiritual activity to mark that as the Lord's Day every week. Doing something every week really, really matters. The second thing I can encourage you to do is do things with your child. Even when they get to school age and catechism age and those types of things, it's better to do things with them. So if you want your child to learn how to pray, pray with them. If you want your child to learn how to serve others, serve with them. So many parts of our parenting culture, we take our kids some places for somebody else to teach them. So if I want my kid to learn soccer, I take them to the coach and the coach will teach them. Faith, it doesn't work that way. I can help you with the what to teach your child, but I can't teach them the why. And the only way that you teach them the why is by doing things with them. So even if you're taking your kid to catechism to learn the what, then spend a little time each time they come back to catechism and have them tell you what they heard so that you can show them you care about the why and it matters to you. Or again, praying with your kids every week. There's even certain simple things that you can do in your house to communicate the why, right? Like look at your walls and see if there's any art that depicts the person of Jesus. And if there's not, maybe you should pick something, right? Because that tells our child that it's not just something that we believe, it's someone in our life, and that person is Jesus. So making sure that they know that there's someone in your life that's important. That's a real simple way to communicate the why. Even this baptismal candle that we're going to give you, right? We're going to give you a lit candle, and then you're going to take that candle home. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, the lit candle sat in my sock drawer until I was 22. And it was, we never really used it, but it's a powerful symbol. I know some families that will every year on the anniversary of their child's baptism, they'll pull out that candle and they'll light it and they'll say a prayer, giving great thanks to God for what he did in their child's life and continues to do in their child's life. I got one buddy. He's kind of crazy, but if you think about it, it makes all the sense in the world. Every year, birthday cake, candles. Yep, that's right. He takes the baptismal candle right in the middle of the cake. So you got all these like cute little candles, and then you got this gargantuan baptism candle. A little over the top, maybe, but boy, does it send a message, right? In a real simple way. He doesn't have to give him a catechism lesson. Boom! Jesus Christ is the center of your life, today and every day. Those little simple things that we can do communicate the why of our faith, and communicate what? That it matters to us. And if it matters to us, it's more likely to matter to your child. So, you're going to make this promise to raise your child in the faith. We can help you with the what and the teaching them the lessons. Only you can do the why. And the best thing that you can do the why is bring them to church and do church with them.